Hey there, welcome to the live overview, Facebook Live overview, 70.3 Ironman Boulder course. We'll wait for everybody to jump in. We'll see, checking on the technical details real quick, and then we'll jump into it. Make sure we're up and going live. See a few people jumping in. All right, we're going to go ahead and jump into it on a poster for replay in case you didn't make the live version. Excuse me, pardon me, got a little bit of a allergy kind of throat thing going on, so hopefully that doesn't get too annoying. So I'll replay this so you can watch it in the group. And then if you got any questions, I'll keep checking the Facebook Live for any questions that pop up. I can answer live while we're talking here. But basically, I'm going to go over my overview. I have a few athletes doing 70.3 Boulder. I've done it in the past. This is me, Ryan at Set the Pace Triathlon. Go to setthepacetriathlon.com. Go to the blog. Basically, this is going to be my little write-up. Like I said, I wanted to do kind of a live thing too, so if you had any live questions, or if you had any questions in general, you could type them in the comments here, and I could answer them for you. Hopefully kind of settle in nerves. This is the first time doing Boulder, going up the altitude. A lot of people seem to kind of get a little worked up about that, but fear not. It's not that big of a deal. As long as you've done your training, you're prepared, shouldn't be a problem. So we'll kind of jump into it. Said you go to my site, setthepacetriathlon.com. Pardon me. You go to the Ironman 73 Boulder course overview, 70.3. You go to the blog, and you can pull it up and see it. You got it live on here. The quality is not going to be the best on Facebook Live looking at a computer screen, but you can get the gist. And then, like I said, you can go to the website and kind of read everything I wrote down. I won't bore you with the nitty-gritty details. But when we go over live, like I said, if any comments pop up, I can definitely answer them for you. Aside from any of my friends that pop up with smart-ass remarks, we're not going to answer those. We're just going to laugh at you. Anyway, so what can you expect on the weather? I did write this up last week, so I'm kind of curious myself. Weather.com. Try not to get sucked in by advertisements. It's almost like so we don't care necessarily. Yeah, we kind of care. It looks like it might get in Boulder, but Boulder. Like watching paint dry and grass grow. Here we go, Boulder, Colorado. So, like I recommend, I mean, the weather, it's not going to make or break your day, but it could change your day. So make sure that you're up to speed on the latest forecast. Don't get freaked out about water temperature and all that. We'll get into that in the swim. But just kind of be aware of what's coming up. You know, because the race, we don't get in, we have to do the 10-day forecast. So the race is on August 3rd. I want to make sure I'm looking at the right day, so that's a Saturday. So right now we got, it looks like a pretty good day. Mostly sunny, high of 86, 20% chance of rain. Usually you see that in the afternoons. Back in my day when I lived out in Denver. And 44%, 53% humidity. That's actually kind of high for that area. But do notice they got a couple PM thunderstorms Thursday and Friday leading up to it, 40%. So potentially that could keep the reservoir cold enough for a wetsuit legal swim. So always be ready. Bring your wetsuit. I did the 2017 and 18 Boulder half, and both of them I did in wetsuits, if I remember correctly. So even though, you know, it's getting in the 80s, or, you know, if it gets in the 90s, it's a reservoir, so it's fed from mountains, from snowmelt. It can get cool, and they can find a spot where it'll be wetsuit legal. So bring your wetsuits, bring your speed suits, just in case. I did do the full in 2015. It was in August at the time, and it ended up not being wetsuit legal. So make sure you're ready. Just be prepared for being able to swim in your wetsuit, not swim in your wetsuit. I recommend if it is wetsuit legal, wearing one. I personally don't overheat in my full suit, especially for halves. It's not that big of a deal. But if you do get kind of warm, bring a sleeveless. Might be an option. But I am full sleeve every chance I get. So whatever I can take in the water to give me a little bit of advantage, I'll take. So that's why I recommend to people. So keep an eye on the forecast. Right now, sunshine and some clouds, high of 86, winds east at 5 to 10 miles an hour. So it's sounding like it's pretty good conditions. Partly cloudy, winds light and variable. So don't really know when the rain chances will hit, but kind of got 20% in the morning, 10% for the evening. So just be prepared. It might be a little rainy. Do be prepared in the 60s in the morning. It's a little chilly. Bring your sweatpants, bring your sweat jacket. It's all transition like a typical triathlon, so you can leave your stuff in your gear bag and transition. Bring a bag to put it in case it does rain, so you can keep your clothes dry. So after the race, if you're wet and feeling gross, you have some dry clothes to change into. So I always recommend that, especially any contents in your race bag you're going to leave in transition. You don't want to get wet. Maybe bring Ziploc bags, big ones, to put your transition stuff in to keep dry. So when you come to transition, if you got salt tabs or anything that if it gets wet is ruined, just make sure you've got a backup plan to keep it dry during your swim and during the bike if you're going to leave it there to pick up in transition when you're in T2. So like I said, always keep track of the weather. Keep checking that. Just make sure you're up to speed with what's going to be going on that day. But it is going to be sunny, so I'm going to probably reinforce this several times. Plenty of sunscreen, stay hydrated all the time from when you get there to after the race, during the race. Make sure you're doing plenty of electrolytes. Don't go overboard, but water is going to be key, especially at elevation. You're going to lose a lot more moisture just breathing. A lot more will evaporate. You won't necessarily sweat and notice it as much. It's not like humidity. I'm from Kansas City. So here you don't get that humidity. So it's harder to notice, personally, I think, when you're walking around Boulder and it may be sunny and you may be feeling like in the sun you're hot, but in the shade it feels real good. But at the time you're losing a lot more moisture just breathing and talking. So just make sure that you're staying hydrated. Bring your water bottle with you, especially when you go in the reservoir, you're driving out there, you park and you're picking your stuff up or dropping your bike off, going to athlete briefings, going to pro panels or whatever you're doing over there. Just make sure you're not standing out in the sun, getting dehydrated, getting sunburnt and stuff like that, especially before the race, because that could make race day more miserable if you get sunburnt the day before and you're severely dehydrated and you go to bed and you got 2 strikes against you and then you get up the next morning and try to do a race. But if that's your thing, if that's your challenge, then hey, go for it. Some people go out and drink plenty of beer the night before and then go out and have a perfect race the next day. But that's not me. And that's not what I recommend. Anyway, so jumping into the swim. Pretty straightforward. You start at the swim beach, swim out, kind of a trapezoid looking thing. So it's nice. You only got 2 turns. So sight to the red buoys. The problem is when you're swimming out, you're going to be looking a little bit into the sun, and when you're swimming when you make your right, you're going to be swimming with the sun in your face, and then when you're swimming back, if you sight to the left, you're going to have the sun in your face. So highly recommend tinted goggles. At some point you will be having the sun in your face, unless you get a break and it's cloudy in the morning, but just be prepared that you're going to have the sun in your face. But what's nice, it's only got 2 turns. Hit the end, turn, hit the end, turn, and then go back to the finish. Typically, last year, 2018, the start was they grouped you by your swim times, and then they kind of did a rolling start. They funneled you through a chute. I think what they're moving to for most halves is 1 at a time or 2 at a time. There's a beeper, goes off every 3 to 5 seconds, and 2 people go in the water. So it is kind of nice. It spreads people out. There's not as much hitting and smacking when you run around in there. Not as much contact when you're swimming through, but don't seed yourself too early. Don't seed yourself late. Late, you're going to be swum over people. You seed yourself early, you're going to be swam over. If you do want to seed yourself early, a little bit slower, swim to the left. So swim to the outside, let the faster people take the inside lane. That way, you're not going to get swam over, and you can be out and doing your own thing, find your own pace. It's kind of a nice thing. But like I said, be prepared. The reservoir is usually pretty cold because it's cold water fed, so it could be wetsuit legal no matter what the temperatures are for the day. So just make sure you bring your wetsuit, whatever you're going to bring, full sleeve, short sleeve, no sleeve, speed suit just in case. Just make sure you're prepared mentally that you could be swimming. More than likely, it'll be wetsuit optional, so you can if you want to start towards the back wear your wetsuit. But if you want to be in the mix of it and out there for awards and placements and everything else, you're gonna have to go by the rules. And if it's optional, then you can't wear your wetsuit, and you gotta be out there and swim the whole thing without a wetsuit. But nice point is, it's smooth as glass. Even if there's 5 to 10 miles per hour for the predicted winds, there's no waves or anything except for the boats kind of running around checking on people. So it's a pretty straightforward swim. The water's not bad. It's a little bit green and murky, but as far as reservoir goes, it's pretty good. So just be ready to swim. Don't take off like a rocket. You're gonna have 1.2 miles to go. So if you're really feeling it, hit it on this backstretch and really get in there. But when you start in the water, especially with less contact, you should have that time to really get used to find your stroke and get into your groove and swim along. Don't get too agitated or worked up. Kayakers, buoys, you can hang out for a rest if you need to. It's not that big of a deal. As far as open water swims goes, this is pretty straightforward, and personally, I love to swim here. It's where I get my fastest times. The altitude does affect some people, and they kind of feel short of breath when they're doing the swimming. But my take is it's kind of mixed up a little too with, you get out there and you do your race, you're anxious, you're already worried about altitude anyway, so it might kind of play into it a little bit. So definitely highly recommend breathing every stroke on the way out. Find your rhythm. If you feel like you could go maybe every 3, if you can breathe bilaterally, do that. Whatever you need to find naturally. But if you find that you're getting short of breath, revert back to every stroke taking a breath, and just make sure you get your air. Take your time. Don't get stressed out. Just relax out there. So there's plenty of kayaks, plenty of buoys. You can hang out for a minute if you feel like you need to catch your breath. Really don't put pressure on yourself. Don't stress out. It's very doable, straightforward swim. Any questions out there? I don't have any comments yet. Feel free to raise your hand. Have any comments during the Facebook Live here, or else you're just going to listen to me talk the whole time and cough every now and again. So, but if you do go to my blog post, can't talk anymore. Do go to my blog post. You'll notice that I posted a video that I made just talking about tips to reduce swim start anxieties. We're approaching race day. There's a few chances you can have. Just go out there. They're going to have some open water swims at the reservoir usually. So go out there and you can swim around and just, for first 100 yards, just swim as hard as you can. Swim fast, fast, fast. And then try to slow down and catch your breath in the water. And do it in the swim beach. So then if you get kind of nervous, you could just stand up and catch your breath. And it's not that big of a deal. So just get kind of used to it out there. Go out there. Just see what it feels like. See if you think you do have any issues breathing out there. So just make sure you're comfortable out there. The bike. So, oh no. If you're on the website, do something for the email. Blatant advertisement there. So if you look at the profile, it gains about 2,000 feet per the Ironman website. It's kind of hit or miss. Usually my altitude hasn't been very good and accurate on my GPS just because my watch was having problems. So I cannot verify or deny, but if you go to one of the Facebook groups, I'm sure you'll get around 2,000 feet of elevation. Probably not that much different. So notice there are two little, I want to say little, it's not mountainous terrain. So you're going to have some hills. There's kind of a slow grinder coming up, and then a really steep climb. And that's going to be pretty much anything towards the foothills. So you got the mountains over here. So when you come out of the reservoir, you come out and you hit your U-turn, you come out here, you do this, you come out and then you ride up this road and you're riding along. So about here, so when you're coming on Neva Road, coming towards the foothills, I've done the course several times. I just don't know the road names because I'm not local there, unfortunately. So if anybody else is got the names just memorized down pat, feel free to comment. But if you think some routes are better than others, but like I said, when you're climbing towards the foothills, be looking Route Mile 15, be looking to do some climbing. So do what you need to have a nice controlled ascent. Don't go crazy. Don't hammer it because you're going to have to run over this because it is a one loop course. It seems like last year we did 2 loops. Maybe. No. I take that back. Last year I do remember it was 1 loop, but we kind of did this little out and back twice. So when you hit it in the morning, man, you're going to fly. You'll have a nice little tailwind, it feels like, coming out. And then coming back, you have a little bit of a headwind, but you got that adrenaline kind of pushing you still until you make that turn. And then on the out road, you start climbing. And you get in the foothills. You get here on 36. And it's not too bad. There's a little ups and downs. You come in and you do your nice little speed through here. When you're coming back on Nelson, is that Nelson Road? You should have a nice speed coming through there, especially when you're coming back down from the foothills. And you hit, turn, you come back, and you come back to foothills. This is going to be steep. This is where I had a problem last year. I didn't feel comfortable shifting down into my lower ring on the front, so I had to climb the big ring in the front, and it sucked. Just be prepared. It's a little bit of a grueling climb to get to this little turn back on 36. So once you get past that, it's almost kind of smooth sailing. I mean, the elevation changes aren't too bad, so hopefully you did not burn yourself out on these 2 climbs, because this back section is really where you can make up, get down an arrow, get on your bars, really make up some time, speeding through, find your sweet spot, your FTP, 75% FTP if that's your target, or zone 3 heart rate range, or perceived rate of effort, whatever 4, 5, 6, whatever you're shooting for. My athletes kind of know what targets I recommend is 75% FTP plus or minus for the whole course. But when you got this opportunity, if you can put a little bit more power and get more return, as in more speed, for maybe 5 to 10 more watts, especially over this little section, it's time and energy well spent to make up a little bit of time. And then over here, when you do this little loop again, you're going to come down, you're going to feel like you have the wind at your back, so it should feel pretty nice coming back until you get to that U-turn. This is where you're really going to start paying the price, because it's going to become a little bit of a grind. So when you're coming back, you have that, if there's any wind, it's going to be a headwind right at you. So you just got to kind of get narrow and just kind of suck it up until you get to transition. So basically, like I'm saying, it can be a fast course if you time the climbs right. So don't kill yourself on New Out Road, and don't kill yourself on St. Vrain Road. Like I said, I'm not an expert on the street names out there. So don't kill yourselves on these 2 climbs. Don't go out and hammer it, because you have plenty of other opportunities to spend your energy more wisely, especially on this little road here on... I wish I could zoom in. Like I said, unfortunately, I am not an expert in the roads in there, so sue me. But I've been out there, like I said, I've done the half 3 times. This is the same course 2018, but 14, 17, and 18, they've all been different bike routes. And then this year is going to be a different bike or run route, so that'll be interesting. So basically, my tips for the bike, like I said, is, measure your output, whatever you're putting into it. Wait till you're done with this last little climb, and then, if you feel like you have it, just put it all out there in the course. Make sure you're hydrating well in these areas. It's easy to forget early on in the race. It's not too warm, and you're not sweating a bunch. You're riding around, and it's like you're thinking, this is no problem whatsoever, and you forget about nutrition, you forget about hydration. You're going to pay for it on the run, because the run, there is really no shade to hide from the sun. And regardless of what the temperatures are, if you're out in that full sun, you're going to get baked a little bit. So you can read all my main tips here on the blog post, but the main one is make sure you got some sunscreen, because you will get sunburn out there if you got any exposed arms, if you got like a sleeveless tri-suit. Make sure you're hydrating, make sure you're getting nutrition, especially before you get into transition with about 5-10 miles to go. That's where I cut off the solids and go to strictly fluids. Because once you start to run, your gut's not going to process any of that food, or not very much of it. So if you can handle a few goos or whatever on the run, this is the point where you can stop the solids on the bike. This is why I recommend it anyway. So, any questions so far? I don't see any. This must be just the perfect course overview that I've ever done. I'll tell you what, whoever's watching this and listening, I expect a full report that you got PRs and it was the best day of your life. End of story. Anyway, so going to the run, they have changed it up. So I posted the race director's little Vimeo video. And then I've also got some videos down at the bottom from past athletes that have done the races, some altitude tips. So if you want to hear a little bit more of kind of what I recommend to kind of battle the altitude, you can check those out as well. But for the run, so I don't know how you want to view why they did it. It used to be you just run around the reservoir twice, but now it is 2 loops of running out, and then this little, they call it like a lollipop loop, and then running back, closer transition, doing a U-turn, and running back out. So basically, you're kind of avoiding, you've got some gravel in here on the roads, but you're avoiding these gravel roads out here. I don't know, maybe just the locals didn't really care for it, or safety was a concern, because there's always cars kind of driving around out there and people trying to get through, and the race is just kind of a cluster F out there. Not really, you know, you can watch the video and take the race director's, view on why they changed it, but whatever. So overall, I think it would have more time on pavement, especially when you hit, what we got, 83rd Street. So when you're out there running, there is a tree line. Depending on the time of day and what side of the street they're running you on, you could get some relief from the sun, but it looks like they've got you running north, which the tree line's on the other side. And when you're the old course, you'd run down this way, you'd run south. So they had a little bit of shade coming from the sun, but I don't think you're going to get too much break. I could be wrong. You might get some trees out here. But once you're hitting out here, you're full sun, man. So make sure in transition to, you got plenty of sunscreen. They're going to have plenty of volunteers. Get lathered up. Just make sure you're not baking out there. Hydrate, hydrate, hydrate. I recommend, at least, even if you run the aid stations, grabbing a cup and sipping on it. If I feel like I'm sloshing a little bit, I'll at least swish it, either Gatorade or water, in my mouth and spit it out, so I don't slosh too much in my stomach. But just every aid station, grab something, and then if you're not going to drink anything, dump over your head. Even if it gets to 86 degrees in full sun, 86 isn't horrible out there. If you're just walking around, it's probably not going to feel that bad. But if you're out there running, especially after 1.2 miles of swimming and 56 miles of biking, you're going to feel it out there. So make sure that you're hydrating well early on in this first loop. Otherwise, you're going to pay the price, because I paid the price in 2014. I paid the price in 2018 when I fell off my hydration strategy for the bike ride and came out here and just got totally dehydrated, wiped out, and just felt like poo. 2017, I was on top of it in one of my best races, like 5:01. The bike was a little bit short, but it was a great race, and I totally give all the props to my hydration strategy and staying on top of it. So that's going to be my key tips, is make sure that you've got sunscreen, maybe a hat, a visor, keep the sun on your face, sunglasses. You're going to have full sun, especially at the forecast, mostly sunny. Partly cloudy, but that's at night, so you're going to be dealing with the sun. So get sunscreen in T2. Get some sort of water at the aid stations. Make sure if you need goos or sports gels, you're getting on that first loop, because the second loop, your stomach's probably going to be shutting down and saying, I'm done. Hopefully you can get to the finish line before I completely quit on you. So, like I said, I got other tips in here, kind of the standard. Don't run out too hard. Don't take those first 2 to 3 miles like you're gung-ho, trying to get your best mile splits, because you'll end up paying the price later. Just pace yourself, like the swim, like the bike when you first get out there. Just pace yourself. It should be a nice, beautiful day for a race. The course should be awesome. Just be prepared. I mean, when you're out there, once you're parked at the reservoir, they may change it a little bit, especially since now everything's going on over here and the parking's over here. So they may let you out a little bit earlier. But in the past, pretty much when you parked out here, you're done. You're out there for the day. I still got my sticker on my car from that. It's kind of a nice little memory. But if you got anybody coming in, especially when they're doing the bike, back at the bike course, we can find that. So we got this transition. So the bike, they've got most of it going on out here. So there might be an opportunity that spectators can come in and out of the park. So that might be a reason for changing this up a little bit, especially for the run. So just be aware of that in the athlete briefings, when you can come and go, as far as athletes coming and going. So that's basically my overview. And right now, I didn't see any questions. Hopefully, this posted live in the event. Otherwise, I'll post it back in there. If you got any questions, feel free to put it in the comments, to email me, message me, do whatever you need to. You go to the website, hit contact me, and just be aware for anybody that's watching. I do have an opportunity. If you look at the blog posts, it might be kind of buried in there right now. What I got is like a little race day toolkit, so hit older entries. It's got like a packing list, it's got some tips and tricks. So if you're flying out there, if you're driving out there, you got plenty of time to kind of look it up, to do a little bit more planning, or maybe for your next race, maybe this is your first 70.3 and you kind of want to know some tips and tricks to do better. Go look on the Triathlon Training Race Day Toolkit. You can hit this URL. So if you hit the website, hit the blog, you can look through it, you can find it. And hey, you get a hat. You know, they're super cool. They're made by Boco. So they're if you sign up for that, and then you got the opportunity to become a member at a very, very low starting price. See, right now you can't really get in, and I'm not going to show you the password to log on because I turned it off, because right now I'm working on special content just for members only. But right now, in the past it was $5.99. That's going to go up because I'm going to offer a lot more. But it's a nice little membership. It keeps you up to date, gives you information, access to special tutorials like for traveling, for other kind of more in-depth things that I spend a lot more time on. I mean, basically, you can look around my website, my Facebook page. You can find kind of pretty much all my thoughts and commentary on there, but you can also get access to every training plan, like a PDF of it, to print it out. I've summarized all my tips throughout the year, and then you get special communication from me about training, you know, trying to get you from finish line or sign up to finish line. So there's going to be a focus on that. And then, you know, maybe you've done a race and you want to get faster. You want to know, well, I self-coached, or I did a canned plan, or maybe if you bought one of my plans off of Training Peaks, you want to know how to get faster. It's going to go more in depth on what you could do to get faster, especially if you don't want to go out and spend tons of money on, you know, I do the coaching, like I said. Don't tune out on me. This is good stuff. So I do the coaching. If you're a member, you get a reduced rate. But, you know, if you don't have $150, $100 a month or whatever to spend on coaching, but you want to get faster, the membership is kind of a nice alternative to get a little bit more information. You know, I'm Ironman University certified. I'm USAT level 1 triathlon coach. I've been coaching and racing since 2004. So I've got a lot of information out there. Some of it's great, some of it's good, but none of it's bad. Yeah, I'm just kidding. It's all great. So make sure you stay on top. If you kind of like what I'm talking about a little bit, you want some more insider information, it comes from one source. You're not looking all over the internet. You're not doing Google. You're not doing Facebook groups. It's great information out there, but it's a lot of information, and it's scattershot, and it's not exactly qualified people giving commentary and giving advice out there. So this is kind of a, like I said, the membership is kind of a lower tier, you know, not as involved with a coach, but an opportunity to get more deep dive information on racing and getting better without having the pain of paying for a true monthly triathlon coach. So if you're interested, it's out there. I'm going to open it back up on Labor Day. Like I said, I'm adding more to it, so this $5.99 is going to go up by Labor Day. But you go to the blog, go to older entries, and if you watched the video this far, I'm not going to post this on the comments. You are super awesome, and you will know exactly where to go and look if you want more information on what it entails. So, blog, Triathlon Training Race Day Toolkit, it is still available for purchase. So with that, you get entry at that price, and you get 6 months basically for nothing to start with. So if you don't like it, you can close it out later. But it's out there, you can get it. Kind of a back door right now. It's on the back burner because if you go to the main website, it tells you it's kind of closed off. So if you made it this far, congratulations. Again, Ironman 70.3 Boulder. I love that course. Wish I was doing it this year, but I'm doing a local race, so not in the cards this year. I did Muncie this year. So as you can see, the membership will open up back on Labor Day weekend, but you can get in with the race day toolkit. You can get in earlier at that price. Or you can get in, but if you wait till Labor Day, it's going to be at the higher price. So anyway, let me know if you got any questions. I know this is long and drawn out. I didn't see any questions pop up on the live Facebook feed, so it must have been great, everything you wanted to know. And like I said, just reach out, comment, and we'll talk to you later.